A while back, Icy Mike dry stunned me a bunch with the taser pulse. If you want to see that video, there it is. Now get ready for a painfully detailed breakdown of me trying not to get tased. The first thing to note is that I knew my strategy going in. I had mentioned earlier in the day that it's hard to defeat a stun gun if you aren't motivated enough to walk through it, so I wanted to test that hypothesis. While everyone else was getting their rounds in, I was mentally working myself up to eat the dry stun. So here's how that went. I knew I wanted to shoot in and get a definitive takedown, but I didn't want Mike to know I wanted that. So I spent some time playing around, acting like I was just as tentative as everyone else. He jabs me in the head a little bit, and my instincts tell me to respond to that. I have to remind myself that it doesn't matter because that's not the game we're playing. I don't have to win the boxing match, I just have to get the taser. So finally, I shoot in for the takedown. I think I did a pretty good job of catching him off guard because he does sprawl, but it's too late. By the time he's sprawled, I've already done a really good job of turning the corner, mainly because I'm running away from that taser. And here, I actually have his left leg in the air and on top of my thigh. But I can't run in to flatten him out because the punching bag is in the way. He manages to brace himself on the bag and not get rolled over, so I try and step over for mount. This almost works, but he manages to bury the taser in my ribs, which makes me flinch back. This causes me to completely overshoot the target and gives him enough space to stand up. From here, I know I absolutely do not want to reset at range because now he knows my plan, and recklessly shooting in is probably not going to work twice. So I immediately dive at him in a desperate attempt to get him back down. But he circles out and I don't have a base under me, so I actually get rolled over and end up on my back. Thankfully, he has to take a moment to balance himself with his taser hand so he doesn't immediately stick it in my ribs. Plus, I may be on the bottom, but I have the underhook. And having the underhook and bottom side control allows me to pop up to dogfight. Now this is where Mike finally makes a mistake. Instead of putting in a whizzer and trying to actually wrestle me, he squares up and tries to use the taser to make me back off. He makes the mistake of trying to rely on a weapon over fundamentals. However, my butt is now against the same heavy bag, meaning I can't move backwards. All I can do is win the exchange. So I summon my strength, pick him up, and throw him to the ground. Now, this was obviously terrible form. I don't have my right leg based out and was instead cross-stepping with my left to provide support. And my head is actually being pushed down under his shoulder. But this is actually a good lesson on how much athletic ability matters in a fight. Granted, Mike is smaller than me, but if I wasn't a fit guy in my mid-20s, this would not have worked. If you want to get better at fighting, go to the gym, then you can yeet people. Now on the way down, I managed to block his taser arm with my left forearm. This prevents him from tasering my ribs as I turn into him. From here, I pass his leg and pin his taser arm with my knee. However, in order to get my knee that far forward, I had to posture up, which let him put in a knee shield. I tried to throw some punches, but he was blocking them pretty effectively. Now what I should have done here is give up my knee position and try and actually pass his knee shield. If I could get to side control without letting the taser get loose, I would be in a really good position. What I did instead was sit back for a leg lock. Now, I actually have a decent leg lock game, but this was still definitely the wrong choice. What I didn't realize at the time was how badly controlling the taser would compromise my game. About here, I realized I was not going to be able to finish an Achilles lock. Reaching out to control the weapon with my left hand meant I couldn't bridge backwards to finish the move. Mike starts to get up, and I try reaching in with my other hand to take his taser, but he shocks my hand with it, so I quickly pull it back out. You can even hear me yelp in pain. He kicks me in the head a few times, but I managed to throw that off because he had to get a really unsteady balance position to kick me in the first place. Now, sure, in an actual fight, those would have hurt me. But this isn't an actual fight. This is a game in which I really don't have to care about head kicks. His distraction with the kicking allowed me to get two hands on the weapon, but he then manages to get a base under him and strip one of my grips. Icy Mike then had an opportunity to effectively spin around, almost like he's going for a knee bar. Now, he doesn't need to actually get any sort of leg lock because the spin itself probably could have cleared my remaining grip. Since he would also have control of my leg, this would have allowed him to dig the taser into my leg muscle until I cried. However, he makes no indication that he's aware of this move because exposing his back for a leg entanglement is not at all how he trains. So instead, I use my right arm to start getting some semblance of a control position back. Any of you that grapple might have recognized that my left leg has been horribly exposed this entire time. Thankfully, it hasn't been an issue because I've been controlling his right hand. At this point, I want to actually tuck my left foot back behind his leg to try going for X-guard sweeps. Unfortunately, my inability to bridge backwards or twist my body left means I can't get the space to tuck my foot in. Instead, I'm stuck extending it into his armpit to try and reduce his ability to wrench away from my grip. Mike then gets his second hand in play, but that slight turn of his body throws his balance to his right, just enough for me to get a partial sweep. From here, you can see the concentration on my face as I ponder whether I can get a heel hook with one arm. Ultimately, I decide I probably can't. My inability to bridge backwards means I would have to do it the more dangerous way, and with one hand, I probably wouldn't be able to finish that either. Now, in a life or death scenario, I could have let go of the taser and taken a dry stun to the thigh for the couple seconds that would be required to rip someone's leg apart. But absolutely nothing short of a life or death scenario could give me the fortitude to do that. I can't imagine how painful being stunned on the inner thigh would be, and I don't want to find out. I hear the countdown begin, so I transition my left leg to the other side to clear space to reach his face. I desperately start trying to throw punches for a stoppage, but taking my hand off his left leg allows him to stand back up. Without my left leg to control his shoulder, he finally manages to get his taser free, and I quickly scramble out of there because I do not want to be tased again. Ultimately, I couldn't win, but I did give him an absolutely exhausting fight. Afterwards, my lower back felt like it had been hit by a hammer, and my glutes felt like I had done 40,000 squats. He didn't tase any of those places. I just fought under enough stress that my body managed to destroy itself. In real life, I'm not going to get into a grappling match with somebody using a dry stun. I'm going to swing at their head. But in a grappling match, the taser made a big difference. It prevented me from getting positions I otherwise would have gotten, and having to control it all the time used up resources that could have been used mounting an offense. And the experience of grappling against someone with a taser, 0 out of 10 would not recommend. The takeaway from this is that in the chaos of a fight, small details or even luck can make a fight go either way, especially when a weapon is involved. If the heavy bag hadn't been in the way, I might have pinned him early. If he had landed with an underhook instead of an overhook, he could have pinned me early. Luck can make the difference in chaos. And even with a size, youth, strength, and grappling advantage, even a non-lethal weapon can make a fight go the other way.
And that's a talented grappler.
It's official.